from scratch, right? So when I came to Canada about 30 years ago, it was a life changer because you kind of like gave up everything and start from scratch. But I still like passionate about marketing. So it was very fortunate that that time it's still like very hot in terms of like the high tech industry. They still need people in that field. But being an immigrant, it's very hard for me to find a job. I want to tell you that in my life, I have several jobs, and only in my first job that I really have to write an application letter. And then my first job in Canada, I had to write an application letter. Most of the time I was like referred to a job or get recruited by headhunter. So that's how it's important that you have to build your reputation and track record so that people recognize you in the industry. Although it's a big industry, words travel very fast. They know who is doing a good job. So when I came here, that after a few years working with agency, like working for Knowlton, which is one of the biggest PR firm in Canada and in the world, I found that I'm actually reached the glass ceiling that I couldn't get through. And at that time, I actually found the opportunity that there was an influx of immigrants, and a lot of the brands like to target the multicultural community. So I started my firm and specialized in that area. And no regret, been growing like very fast from one-man person to the peak time. I actually have about 18 full-time staff and 20 contractors, writers, and also people who work for me on the translation and writing. And then we have dealt with a lot of the big names, for instance, like P&G, PepsiCo, some of the consumer brands like Cloverleaf and Heinz, and some big names like General Motors and financial companies. And even like from company from China, like ICBC, when they launched their operations in Canada, we helped them with the opening ceremony and launch. And also dealt with a lot of nonprofit brands as well. So very, very high profile, interesting experience. But I have no time to share the stories today. So maybe at a future opportunity, we can actually have like a fireside chat and then we can share more experience like that. So in marketing, if you decide to go into the industry, of course, I know a lot of people have heard about the 4 Ps. It still stand true. The 4 pillars still stand true, but the mediums, the format is very different now. So we will have to look at it later on and see how you can equip yourself to be able to get into the industry and be successful. So in the last 20 years, because of technologies, and a lot of people call it MarTech now, marketing technology, has changed our habit, our way to consume media, our way to spend our money, our way to live our lifestyle. Especially the pandemic has pushed more people who used to be the physical shoppers. Now even like they don't want to, they have to go online because the shops were not opened. So once you change their habit, it's going to stay there for some time. It's very hard to go back. So there'll be even more and more digital marketing in need. And it is the biggest industry, one of the 10 largest industry worldwide in terms of like the spending and also the investment. So for instance, like in 2019 in Canada alone, the advertising industry has spent around like $15 billion. In US is 281. Of course, we are very small compared to the US. And in 2020, the numbers have dropped a little bit because of COVID, but if you see that 2021 is actually climbing up again, and we predict 2022 will continue to rise. But you also notice that there will be more digital spending than traditional marketing. And these are the areas that companies are planning to spend and invest more in terms of like website development, because a lot of times, like a lot of small retailers, they didn't have a website. So now they have to spend money on website, or people who already have a website, but not fully utilizing it. So they have to enhance it. So digital marketing, content marketing, branding, social media, these are all areas of growth. And in terms of the career path, there are a few that lately that are still very popular that you can actually easily find jobs in is market research, brand management, advertising, public relations, and promotions. And because every company, every industry, they would need this kind of jobs and people to work in those capacities. So I would say the career potential is unlimited. And most important thing that made me feel good is Forbes actually said that 20% of the Fortune 500 CEOs started their career in sales and marketing. So you see how influential is sales marketing in terms of within the corporate picture. And you can choose to enter in-house versus agency. And for myself, I like agency because, as I said, I can easily get bored with something. So if I work with agency, I get to know a lot of companies and people at all levels. Like I have worked with, CEOs, I have worked with HR, I work at like distribution planner, things like that. And most important thing, you get to learn and work on different kind of brands and business. I can work on high tech, I can work with automobile industry, I can work on CPG, consumer packaged goods. So, and also I can work with like a nonprofit organization. So that's give me the variety that make me feel excited all the time. And I'm always looking for new things to try. And so within either agency or in-house, usually the most popular departments now are looking for people to join them from the creative team, because there's still a lot of design to work on, website, SEO and paid media, search engine optimization, we know it's very important now, and social media, of course. There's also like public relations and email marketing. So if you are starting your marketing career, so these are the areas that you would like to consider in terms of acquiring your trainings and academic learnings in those areas. There are now a lot of university and also colleges offering marketing classes, despite like when we were 30 years ago, there are actually not a lot of choices. Now, like for instance, UT has a very good digital marketing program, and Seneca College, Centennial College, they all have very good marketing programs as well that cover like digital marketing. And this is actually a major part of marketing now in the next decade. And as a marketer, you need both like soft skill and hard skill, because as I mentioned earlier, you have to deal with people. You have to collaborate with different departments and different brands sometimes, like we have to do brand partnership. For instance, like recently we have been helping Macallan Whiskey partner with Concord ADAX to host a major event. So that's called brand collaboration, and it happens a lot now these days. You also need creativity, because not just like the design we're talking about, but creative solutions, how you come up with a solution that is very creative, that no one has done it before, or something that solved the problem. Be creative in your like solution solving problems. And also like you need strong communication skill, of course, analytical skill, because things move so fast now. You have to establish a critical thinking and make a decision very quickly based on data you have. And these days we are talking about big data, we talk about analysis, we talk about search engine optimization. Everything is about like collecting information, analyzing it, and then make your decision. Time management, just like our keynote speaker said, when you're in the business, be prepared in your first few years to work really hard, and you might need to spend a lot of long hours. In my early part of my career, we can easily work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. There were times that you cannot only sleep like 3 hours and then got up and then continue to work on the proposal. There's straight deadlines, and there's creative campaign, you have to meet the deadlines, things like that. So there are actually a lot on your plate, and you have to be able to multitask. So time management becomes a very critical skill that you need. Hard skill, of course, writing. In marketing, although like you might see, oh, this is good creative graphics or something like that. Or if I'm involved in production, why do I need to be in writing? Writing is actually twofold. One is like communicating with your clients and your colleagues and your peers. If efficient and effective communication will make things easier for you and your partners. The second thing is creative writing. So you have to understand like, what is your product? What is your key messaging? How do you develop a campaign with the right message that resonate with your target audience? Design and layout, if you work in a creative department, of course, your design skill able to manipulate like production, software, video production, editing, etc. Data analytics. These days, every campaigns now we have will involve some kind of online and digital and social media. So we'll collect a lot of data behind the campaign, and you have to come back and analyze it, if not daily, at least weekly, to see what's going on, and if you have to fine tune your campaign. So this is a must, that you're able to have the analytical skill. Photography, lighting, photo editing, a lot of times that, especially for entry level, position, you have to have these kind of skills in order to get your foot in the door. Maybe later on when you rise to the management part or even senior team leader, you might not be necessary to work hands-on on those elements. Video scripting, shooting, and editing. These days, a lot of our commercials, a lot of our social media content are videos, and video will be a very important element, continue to be an important element in the next few years. Who knows, like 10 years later, what will happen? Coding. We all try to talk about like, should we actually introduce coding to elementary school children? Because coding is also a hard skill that we need to acquire in marketing. Critical thinking is, of course, attention to details. It is also very important because if you actually have a very good planning, but you miss one thing, the whole campaign can be ruined by that little thing. So it is very important that as a leader, for instance, myself, I have to keep an eye on everything elements to make sure that they all integrate well. And there's also a plan B just in case. So in terms of attributes to succeed, they're actually, you need to be passionate, just like Christopher said that, but you need to be passionate about your industry, about your career. Love what you do and do what you love. If you don't love it, don't do it, because you're going to regret and you're not going to be successful. And determination, even if you started off, you find it very difficult, hard to adjust. If you continue to tell yourself that you really like it, you really love it, and you're going to find a way to overcome the hurdles, obstacles by learning, either finding a mentor or you have to take classes, read more. If you have that determination, you'll be able to succeed. And I want to tell you that when I first came to Canada in my first job, I knew nothing about Canadian market. I can't even tell province by province, north and east and west and south, okay? I was constantly teased by my colleagues, like, who is this person or what is that province good at? I have no idea. So you know what I did? In my first year, I spent every weekend taking chunks of newspapers and magazines from different provinces. At that time, it's very lucky. My company actually subscribed to different magazines. At that time, internet was not so advanced yet. So I had to actually bring those back to home and spend my weekend reading articles, reading news, so that I know what's going on, what are the jargons, what are the hot topics. And I have to spend those time, and those time are really well invested because it broadened my knowledge and actually kind of like enhance my knowledge to be able to communicate with the management people of my clients. Creativity and curiosity, you always have that creative mindset and think outside the box and be ready to venture outside your comfort zone, try something new. I mean, with my clients, I never cookie cut my solutions. I always tailor make. And every client situation is different and unique. You have the curiosity to find out why, who, what's behind. If a campaign is so successful, I will go into digging in to see how was this campaign successful? Why did it happen? If something happened negatively, and why did it happen? You can always learn from there, from past experience, from other people's mistakes. Communication, I already talked about. You really like to deal with people, talk to people. These days, it's very hard for you if you want to work in marketing, that you want to like just stay in your corner and work your stuff, and not communicate with people. It's not possible. There's a lot of integration and collaboration in the marketing industry. Analytical mind is very important. Good business sense, what makes sense, common sense, digital savvy, that you have to be able to, like, I have people like not able to use Zoom. Then how can you tell like your marketer saying that, oh, Zoom is a medium that you can leverage, or you don't use Google, or don't use Facebook, or don't use WeChat. So you have to understand what are those platforms are. So you have to be in it in order to get the first-hand information. So in order to be that, you have to be digital savvy, and you have to keep an eye on articles, and also there are a lot of information online now to talk about the trends. So you have to be aware of that. Networking and interpersonal skill is very important as well, because as I say, this is a people industry. You have to deal with all kinds of people. Be ready to talk to them in the appropriate language. I'm not saying tough language. I'm saying that be in their shoes to talk the language that's relevant to them. When you're talking to frontline person, a staff, a colleague, versus a C-suite executive, is so different in terms of vocabulary you want to use, the tone and manner you want to use, the angle of the story or the angle of the case you want to use is very different. And networking is so important in the industry when you want to be successful. So apart from like working on my client project, I spent a lot of time, networking with the different industry people and also thought leaders. If you associate with more leaders, you'll be more successful, be able to understand what leaders think. And I think that marketing, like many industry, is a lifetime learning and also human capital building, because the world is changing so fast. Everything is so new now. It can happen like that. And because of the technologies, and now it's actually converting a lot of the habits and consumer spending power, the habit, the lifestyle, and also how we advertise, how we communicate with people. So that will continue to shape the marketing industry. So trends to watch. In order to be proficient in your career, you have to understand what is going on around us. So internet user continue to grow leaps and bounds. And because of the technologies, that there will be more like people looking for employees with a lot of the technology skill, like artificial intelligence, voice search, even image search, image optimization. So these are the stuff that become very important, that the skills that people will look for when they're hiring you. And these are the skills that they need in the 2020, 2021. And then I think that the number will only go up. So to summarize, we're almost like 30 minutes now. So to summarize, I want to say that everything changed so rapidly and dramatically these days because of technology, because of media. You have to always educate yourself about things happening inside your industry, but also outside your industry. And you have to be nosy about the circles around you, the different circles, and tap into the circle's influence. Who are leading the industry? Who are having some innovative thoughts? Follow those people, and you might learn something from them. So basically, it's a very fast overview of the marketing industry, what's going on. And I think that it's very hard to capture everything in 30 minutes. So I just give you like a thumbnail sketch and part of my experience. Of course, a lot of interesting stories to tell about like client servicing and a lot of cases I handled. Never a dull moment. I never regret going into this industry. So a lot of like rookies and graduates come to me and say, hey, you know what, how do I get to the industry? What should I do? What should I specialize in? How do I become successful? So it's a long story, but I try to like give you a 30 minutes capture of what is essential. And these are some of the links that I will also like send you later on in my PowerPoint. Some of the industry association you might want to follow. There are a lot of trainings from them that you can take, and also some of the studies and finding the articles. I find it very useful. Question time. Florence?
Yeah, I'm here. So now in this question time, you're welcome to add your question in the chat room or turn on your microphone to ask the question verbally.
Yeah, or you can raise your hands.
Yeah.
Using the emoji. So Florence, I can't see everybody on the screen, so you will have to monitor that for me.
Yeah, sure.
No question? So quiet? Are you in the right room?
Hi, Loretta.
Hi. Who is this?
My name is Collie.
Yeah.
I just want to ask for someone is new, like just graduate from school, like under the marketing program, how they start to look for jobs and where they can go to, like they doing the LinkedIn, doing the Indeed already, but seems really hard to get into the first job. they don't know how to start?
Yeah, the first job is always the most difficult, most challenging. And I feel sorry for the graduates that graduate in last year, 2020, and also 2021, because we are very, very impacted by the COVID-19. A lot of agencies actually has, or even client side, has actually frozen their headcounts. And if they are hiring, they rather hire someone with experience, because you have to understand with COVID, they're not going to office every day now. So everything have to be conducted online, and they prefer someone that they don't need to handhold. But as a marketing rookie, you need a lot of handholding. That's why there are a lot of internship, a lot of like a trainee position that actually they were now frozen, and you can hardly find them now. But they're hiring like if you have 1 or 2 years experience, then they will hire you. So what I would suggest is there are 2 things you can do. First of all, take a closer look at your profile, your resume. As I said, you have to be curious and creative. Have you really tailored your resume and profile, your LinkedIn profile, and also your resume according to what you want to hunt for? I don't know what kind of skills you have. Are you into MarTech? Like, do you have the technical skill, the digital marketing skills? If you have, there's a higher chance for you to get into the industry. You still have the traditional marketing skills, there's a very low chance you will find a job. So you have to enhance your skills and knowledge first, and you have to package your profile and resume. And the second thing is like, how do you network and let people know you? I first started, whether it's in Hong Kong or whether it's in Canada here, I actually started by volunteering my work with some notable, reputable organization, charity, nonprofit. So when you have done some very good job, you get compliments, you get testimonials, you get words spread around and saying that, hey, this person really good, you should hire her or hire him. So if you are loitering anywhere and have nothing to do, why not volunteer? Pick some time, volunteer for some reputable, organizations. Usually you can get referred or you can cold call. Just pick and choose, and offer your marketing knowledge with those organizations, and try to, at the end, get some testimonial or even referrals. So that's the 2 things you can do. In terms of job opportunities, where do you go? You can go to agency, you can go to client, but I think that on the client side, it's very hard now because I think a lot of them frozen their headcount. But it's all boiled down to people you know. Sometimes a lot of jobs are not advertised. And I still, like I said in my career, except for my first job in Hong Kong and my first job in Canada, all the opportunities were referred either by media, by client, or by headhunters. So think about like how you can reach out to your target segment. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Very good advice.
Yeah, I want to advise people, like I receive tons of resumes every day. And some of them I would just like glance and then in the out bin. Because you're not creative. You're working in the creative marketing industry and you're not creative with your resume. I'm not talking about fancy design, but at least use the jargon, use the language that help people understand you understand the marketing industry.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Any more questions?
Hi, Loretta.
Hi.
Hi, this is Eric.
Hi.
Can you give us some example of the marketing jargon and some example of the language you just mentioned about?
For instance, like when we work on marketing, there are certain language to describe what you do. For instance, how you can differentiate what is a strategy from tactics. A lot of people mix up with tactics and strategy. So you understand like how do you formulate strategy and what kind of procedure and process you have to formulate a strategy. What do you need to do that in order to formulate a strategy, and how do you work your marketing plan with tactics? The tactics meaning like what media you want, what medium you want. So can you tell the media from the mediums? I find a lot of people mix up. And then you will talk about like user experience. Do you know what is user experience? Do you know what is pay-per-click? What are results? What are measurable results? What are objectives? So when you spell out in your resume, for instance, like you want to share your experience that you have assisted so-and-so company formulate the strategy, execute the tactics, like execute or implement, those are the words we use. And then how we base on research and findings, focus groups, whatever statistics you have in order to back up your plan, and how do you actually budget and monitor results and actually make sure that your results match your set goals and objectives. So those are the process and procedure you use. If you can reflect it in your resume in a very clear, organized manner that help your potential employer understand, okay, so you really know the process. You really understand what's in marketing. Does it help?
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hi, Florence. Will this presentation, the slide and also the replay will send to our email?
Yeah, we will share it, share edited recording somewhere, but because there is some confidential or sensitive information, we'll cut some parts before sharing it. But for now, I understand we will share it on social media. And regarding other means of sharing, I'll check with the forum head.
Yeah, maybe. I think would they be posting it on their website and then you can download? Maybe I don't know.
I think especially for the participant for this session, will we receive it?
We'll find a way to do it. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Because I talked to Emily, the organizer, she said that it will be shared, but I didn't ask her like how, but it will be shared for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Any more questions? If not, that how are we doing with time? Florence, how many more minutes we have before we close our breakout?
Oh, we are pretty good now because we are supposed to finish the Q&A session at after 40 minutes.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
Now, feel free to ask me the question. If not, then if you have no more question, then maybe I can share some interesting stories.
Yeah, you're welcome to, because at the one-on-one interview with you, actually you have covered the answers to some questions in your initial presentation already. So we don't really need the full 15 minutes for the further interview. You're welcome to share more interesting stories. That would definitely give great insights, more insights to the participants.
Yeah. I'm very glad that I actually started my own firm because I got to make my own decision and also set the path for my company. So as I first started off, I actually have to fully understand what is happening in the marketplace. Whatever career you get into, you have to fully understand the marketplace and do your research. Is it for me? Do I have potential to grow in this industry? Is it something I love to do? Do I have anyone who can be my backup? That means that if you are in trouble, you are lost, you're stuck, is there a mentor you can go to ask questions? Try to identify a few experienced person in the industry that you can look up to for advice and also for some latest information or answers to your questions. So this is very important. I was very lucky that when I first started my company, I already know that because I was an immigrant, I don't have a lot of networks here. I don't know a lot of people. I don't have what we call the old schoolboy network, okay? So I have to really start from scratch, but I'm very glad that during my, when I was an employee working with an agency, I managed to get to know a lot of people. And because I treat people well, be fair with them, and be professional. And I always based on one principle is I deliver what I promise, and I only promise what I deliver. I will deliver high and manage expectation low. That's my foundation of my professionalism, okay? So very quickly, when you do good jobs, word spread around. And in the past, I remember when I was doing public relations at Knowlton, the media very exceptionally cooperated with me because they know that, for instance, like if you have a deadline to meet, say, I need Tuesday by 3 p.m., you need to give me this one. They can trust me and say that, okay, I'll trust you. I'm not going to over this interview to anyone else but to your client. Make sure you get back to me to, give me all the details so that we can confirm this interview. And because there are peers, I know that media don't trust because they always like fall through, didn't deliver the promises. This is really a taboo. If you build your reputation of being someone unreliable, unprofessional, you're done. Okay, so professionalism is very important in a lot of people industry. And I think that other industries too, like, Christopher, when he's doing his bakery, I'm sure that he has to upkeep his professional standard. Otherwise, people will be disappointed. Same thing when you're in marketing industry. If you promise someone, if you are not delivering quality, people will be disappointed and word spread around. So you have to build your reputation. This is your brand. I always say that before you go out, what kind of person you want to project to people? You have to build your own personal brand, who you are, what you stand for, behind you, what you stand for. So this is something that you might want to do some what called soul searching before you actually apply for a job, because that tells you what kind of job will be relevant and what kind of job will be suitable for you to succeed in. Whether you want to be more frontline, deal with people, then you could be account servicing and account management person. Or you want to be creative, then you can be in the production department. Or you want to be more techy, then you could be in the analytical data analysis and MarTech segment. So it depends on your character, and what you love. So I would like to say that building a professional character and also a brand of yourself is very important. So when people talk about Loretta Lam, they already know what are the elements within Loretta Lam. They know that, okay? And I'm very demanding. Florence will probably know, I'm highly demanding. I'm highly demanding with my team. You have to deliver the best because we want to be the best firm in Canada, okay? And the client actually trusts us. We have clients working with us like 10 years, 20 years. TD has been our client since our inception and never left us. They had tried to find out agents, they couldn't, and so they rely heavily on us. And we have a lot of clients working for 10 years, and I had a lot of interesting brands I work with. And I remember, like, why I said that the Mattel campaign in Hong Kong was a really memorable one, because there are a lot of surprise, a lot of things that you can't control. You always have to have what we call critical thinking, think on your feet, how to solve problems, like creative solutions always important in our industry because you never know what to expect. Although how well you plan, no matter how well you plan, there's still surprise. I want to tell you, like, for instance, like the Macau Grand Prix, it was so unexpectedly that the weather didn't cooperate. It was raining, it was very windy. So there were like tents got blown off. So you have to refix the problem on the ground. And then we went to Macau to set up all the activities for our client. And then the day we arrived, the hotel was out of power. So we have no light, no water. And so imagine how you can dress up yourself or ready for the event. And then because of the Grand Prix, they also blocked a lot of road. So we couldn't actually grab a taxi. So we had to grab a lot of our stuff, and the team will actually have to walk to the site. And it was very windy that day. And so it was quite an experience. And I will never forget that, because it is very interesting experience. And we have to be very creative about how to solve the problem. And then we have also worked with a lot of like Pepsi, P&G, even TNT. We have done a lot of events on site. And when you're dealing with events, there are usually unexpected elements. For instance, like weather, you cannot control. So what happened if it rains? If it snows, what happened? So we can only kind of like rely on our luck, you know, in terms of the weather. But also like we have hired like representative who would do the demonstration or serving the clients on site. And what if the person like no show? It happened a lot because those are students, those are volunteers, or those are like part-timers. And some people don't feel obliged to tell you if they can't show up. And so what do you do? So you always have to have a backup plan, a standby, who can really, you can pull immediately into the workplace to help you. And that's why in the past that I've been really trying to help people as well, because I understand that when you can help people, that one time that when you need help, they will be happy to help you as well. So you have to build your reputation in terms of be really helpful. I'm not saying that you will say yes to everything, but at least let people know that you are being helpful.
Very good point.
Yeah. So I really think that in any industry, especially in the marketing industry, you have to build your brand personality. Like we talk about branding. You are your own brand. So how do you promote yourself? How do you build your brand? What's in you? What about you? What's behind you? And I think that building human capital is also very important. So, you know, in terms of my stage of life now, I can actually easily make a phone call and get things done. But when you are entry level, you might have to make a lot of phone calls before things get done.
Yeah, but these are all very valuable experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to hear from you about, you know, when you are doing PR or marketing agency or in-house, you have to take care of the multiple levels: corporate branding, product branding, and personal branding. This is a really, really good insight.